Welcome to the In the Money Players podcast for April 29th, 2022. I am Nick Tammaro, deputizing for the world traveler himself, Peter Thomas Fornatal. In this edition of Where in the World is PTF, it's going to have to go towards the Emerald Isle, which of course we match with our green backdrop on this weekly podcast. So I am filling in. I've got a slew of really good guests doing so. The first one that I'm going to talk to is Scott Shapiro, and I'm going to talk to Scott a little bit about the Kentucky Derby, which of course is operated at Churchill Downs, which for whom Scott is gainfully employed. And we know, Scott, you've been doing a lot of work on the morning workout show, and I'm sure you are unbelievably excited about Derby. Great to have you, first of all. And what can you tell us right now as far as all things Derby?
Great to be with you, Nick. Always good to chat. And it's exciting times. We're 8 days out from the Derby as we're recording this, 7 from the Oaks. It's been a great time going out in the mornings. Got to work with Travis Travis Stone, one of the days, as Joe Christofek and I had a day off to work with Travis. And it's pretty hectic morning today. A lot of fillies out for their final preparation before the Kentucky Oaks a week from today. I think 11 Derby workers tomorrow. And stealing the show today, as he has quite often of late, was Zandon. Ford trainer Chad Brown looked the part once again today with a surprise workout, but he appears to be coming in the race extremely well. It doesn't seem like I'm the only one on him. It seems like everybody's on him, unfortunately, at this point. But very exciting edition. Lots to break down as we get 8 days away.
So it's always difficult. And people ask me this incessantly, and I remind them that I'm probably the worst Kentucky Derby handicapper of all time. But so if we're going to put you on the spot right now and say, what are you thinking about wagering wise? Who are the horses that you feel as if you'll definitely have on your multi-race plays, and maybe who you're thinking of centering some intra-race action on?
Zandon could be a lone A for me at this point. I'm going to be heavily centered around him and running his race. Doesn't mean I'll need to win, although I do think I'm going to key him in spots like the Oaks Derby double, maybe that new pick 3, depending on how these other races play out. But I do think that's kind of a good way to get leverage. I don't think many people single in the Derby, even if they like a horse like Epicenter or Zandon. So I think maybe being a little bit contrarian in a 20-horse field and singling can get you some leverage. Horses that I'm going to use underneath them, Messier, a horse that I think very well could be on the lead when they turn for home. Hard to leave out, at least underneath. In terms of another horse that's not an obvious one is Mo Donegal. Real hard for me to not at least include him off of his Wood Memorial. Appears to be doing well. And then some price options. I do think Zozos is moving forward nicely. I think he's going to be a pretty big price, like his chances to run his race. And White Abario seems to be flying a little bit under the radar. I would need the right price to include him, but I think I might get that. And then finally, I think Charge It, total wild card, could see him finishing 18th, but also could see him winning this race or at least finishing in the money if all things went right. So I'm going to build around Zandon and hopefully be able to catch at least one of those long shots in the mix.
Yeah, I don't recall, and maybe I need the court reporter to read it back to me, but I didn't hear Epicenter come up in there very much, if at all.
That's a good point, and I'm going to be using him. It's not like I'm out here to dead right toss him. I apologize. I just didn't want to center the story around two favorites.
No, totally fair. I wanted to make sure that you at least got the opportunity to say, hey, no, I'm against him, or because honestly, I've really heard nothing negative, right? I mean, there's been no, well, of course, social media is a bad indicator of what people are actually feeling, but there's been no negatives about any of them, really. It's, there's, other than maybe some no hope long shots that really don't belong. But in fact, in that vein, what I was going to say to you is, who is one horse right now that you think there is some fanfare for, or there is some affinity for, that you're not interested in?
I think I'm going to let Taba beat me. It's just a lot to ask. I know he's got maybe the most talent in the entire field, but one thing after another, the weird training regimen. I'm not a workout wizard by any stretch, but getting a little better as I'm out there in the mornings year after year. And I wasn't overly impressed with his work. Just seems like a lot of weirdness. He's going to have to be one of the biggest freaks ever to win the Kentucky Derby, let alone hit the board with the way it's, 2 starts, 1 start at 2 turns, ship and entry. There's just too much going on for me for a horse that I think will be the 3rd or 4th choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a big ask. And, one of the things that we'll find out, obviously, after the running of this race is that somebody's prep series was overrated. And I think the one that I've gravitated towards believing has been overrated has been Florida. But maybe we're going to find out that these California races were just, some modest horses beating up on each other over and over. But I think we're all conditioned to sort of not think that because of how well they've done over the years. And I mean, I know we're dealing with Taiba and Messier both being really talented horses based on their speed figures and their respective performances in the Santa Anita Derby. So makes for another fascinating component to the most interesting race run in America all year long. So we're greatly looking forward to it. Looking forward to some of the good work that you've continued to do in the morning. So Scott, I really appreciate you taking this opportunity to have a little additional look with me at the Kentucky Derby.
Always love chatting. We chatted a lot of the prep races, and hopefully some of the work will pay off. Exciting times for sure, Nick.
Very much so. You can follow Scott on Twitter at at Scott Shap 34, which is listed, of course, on the screen that you're looking at, and also catch him on the Churchill Downs broadcast starting tomorrow night. That is a look at the Kentucky Derby with myself and Scott Shapiro. Until next time, best of luck. Nick Tammaro again talking Kentucky Derby, this time joined by morning line odds maker, handicapper aficionado David Aragona. David, how you doing?
Great to be on. Doing pretty well.
Good to see you, of course, and good to have your opinions as always. Let's talk a little bit about this Kentucky Derby as much as one can. 8 days out, which is, of course, Friday, April 29th, that we're talking about this. But we saw the final workout today from Zandon. I know you're a guy who likes to take a look at workout videos when you can get them. I generally make sure that the four legs all seem like they're functioning in unison. But I thought he looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, Zandon is a very good workhorse. He always has been. So I don't think it's a big surprise that he's working well coming into the Derby. He seems like he's garnering a big bandwagon heading into the Kentucky Derby. And I feel like he's definitely trending in the direction of being the favorite for that race. I know a lot of people have been considering Epicenter as the favorite for a long time, but it really feels like Zandon's kind of overtaking him in the minds of a lot of people. So it's not a big surprise to me. I frankly have not been spending a lot of time like waiting for every workout video to come out the past couple of weeks or so. I'll do my deep dive into them next week when the post positions are drawn and I actually get to handicap the whole race. But it does seem like he's doing well heading into it.
I'm sure that, like me, you strongly prefer the opinions of people on Twitter who don't watch workouts all year long to tell you which horses are training forwardly in a race where they are among the 20 best of their entire generation. It's positively shocking that they would be doing well. So as difficult as it is 8 days out to do so, if we were going to talk about wagering strategies at this point, who would be your absolute must-haves in any multi-race plays, and who might you be circling around for some of your intra-race plays?
So I've kind of intentionally been stopping myself from making any concrete opinions at this point in the Derby because I really want to see where I feel like the odds are going, because I feel like value is so important in this year's Derby. It just seems like such a wide open race. Nobody's a real standout. The fastest speed figure horses are frankly not the most trustworthy, particularly, the winner of the Santa Anita Derby. So right. I want to see how the money is going to, be arranged across the board. My general take is I don't want the two horses that are probably going to be below 6-1, because it feels like two max will be in that price range. And I feel like that's too short of a price on anybody in this Kentucky Derby. So I'm a big fan of Zandon. I kind of have been since even before he made his career debut, but I feel like his bandwagon has grown too large for me to hitch a ride on there. So I kind of want to go away from him in the Kentucky Derby. He can obviously win. I have similar feelings about Epicenter. It does kind of feel like they're the two favorites. I want to search for the horses that I think are going to fly a little bit under the radar. The candidates that I think could be in that category are horses like Messier, who feels like he will be in about the 8-1 range. I think there are a lot of things to like about him. I'm curious to see what price Taiba ends up, because I could be talked into using him. He's kind of an all or nothing type. Post position, I think, will be especially important for him. I know there's that, curse of the Wood Memorial, but I think there are as many things to like about Mo Donegal nearly as there are about Zandon. They're very similar horses. They have the same kind of running style, and it feels like Mo Donegal is going to be at least twice the price that Zandon is in this race. And then there are some other horses that are going to be even bigger prices. I mean, I could be talked into using a bomb horse like Pioneer of Medina, who I think has some speed figures and is really moving in the right direction if he does get into the race. I know he's number 21 right now. And I could go on, but it's the kind of race where I really want to sit down and make a value line to determine who I think is going to be the right price for me.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly sound approach. And really, quite honestly, that's probably very little different than what you do with races normally. And I tell people a lot, and I'm a admittedly terrible Derby handicapper, but don't treat it differently than you treat other races on a regular basis. There's no reason to, just because there's 20 horses. I mean, yeah, we obsess about it for 3 months leading into it, but it doesn't mean that you should take a completely different approach from a handicapping perspective. So that's great. I appreciate you giving us an early look at it. One thing I asked Scott to, and I'll ask you as well, who is a horse that you feel is getting some fanfare that you're totally uninterested in? I think I know who you're going to say.
Yeah, Crown Pride. He's just a horse that there's no history of that race producing horses that are competitive in the Kentucky Derby, and people are just so taken with like the 45 minutes that he spends on the racetrack in the morning doing his circles and stuff like that. I mean, it's fascinating to watch different training methods, but I don't think the fact that the horse is exotic or different necessarily makes him better than his past performances.
I think that's a good point. And I think that it's also important you alluded to this the other night on social media, that people have not quite understood that this is the result of a Japanese breeding program that's been going on for a very long time. I mean, this is not something that just kind of kicked in. It's great to have them participating, I will say that, but the UAE to America turnaround for basically any race, you'd be very hard pressed to do so in 6 weeks, which is what they will attempt to do this time. 5 weeks. 5
Yeah,
weeks,
and
right?
I think
Yeah.
the big piece of that people are missing too are the Japanese are taking a lot more shots in these international races than they were even 4 or 5 years ago. So saying they
Agreed.
swept the entire card on Saudi World Cup night, it's almost like saying, "Oh, the Europeans swept the card," which doesn't really strike you as that surprising. But the Japanese are, they're just running a lot more horses in these races, so it's not surprising they're winning a lot more.
Shockingly, they found that using a bunch of American mares to add to their breeding program would help with their dirt horses. I could go on a tangent, but I won't. David, thanks so much for taking this look at the Kentucky Derby with me. We'll be looking forward to more of your opinions, of course, on Twitter at Horse to Watch, and every day, every NYRA card at least, on the NYRA website and on drf.com. Thanks again, David. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Nick Tammaro here with another look at the Kentucky Derby. We're 8 days out, but that does not mean that we're not paying specific attention to the Run for the Roses, which will take place on May 7th. Joining me to take a look at the Derby at this point, Howard Cravats of the HHH Racing Podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Nick. How are you? Just getting cranked up for Derby week here.
Very much so. Doing the same thing for sure. Trying to take in all the info I can and filter out the good from the bad. So at this point in time, if I were to say to you, who are you looking at in terms of your must uses in your multi-race plays, and maybe some of the horses you want to focus your intra-race attention on, who are we looking at?
Yeah, I will be playing the dollar superfecta for something called the podcast pool for my viewers. It's something I do not do usually too often, but I'm very interested in the superfecta this year. My plan as of right now is to key Zandon in all spots. I think other than Epicenter, who will be the favorite most likely, and some around probably 5-2, 3-1, I think Zandon is the most likely of horses to finish in the top four. I understand he's got to, weave through traffic, blah, blah, blah. I just don't think he's a dead closer. And I think he's one of the most talented horses in the race. I love his bluegrass. And I think I'm going to get, 6-1 probably. So I'm sort of keying in on Zandon in terms of vertical plays in the Derby. I really, truly believe there's only maybe 4 to 5 horses at most that could win this Derby. Underneath in third and fourth, your guess is as good as mine. I think you could. I wouldn't hit the all ball, but I mean, I would say you could probably completely toss out maybe 3 of the 20, in my opinion, in terms of fourth. So it's gonna be very difficult to hit, the tries and the supers. But Zandon is probably the horse I'm focusing in on most right now.
And I think that, especially today, looking at this 8 days out, he posted his final workout this morning and turned heads in a pretty eye-catching drill. He's a horse that had worked well, really going all the way back since before his debut. But when you do it on this stage with that many sets of eyeballs on you, you're going to get a little bit more attention. Do you think when push comes to shove, and obviously there's a furniture salesman who's probably 20 minutes or so away from me right now who'll have a say in it, who do you think will be favored?
Are we including that salesman's money, or are we not including that? Because
And,
last year the
honestly,
favorite
I
might
have
have
no
been
idea.
different, right? Without his
I have
money.
no idea who he's going to bet, right? And in a lot of ways, if he does it the way he's kind of laid out, he will determine who the favorite is. Ultimately, he's going to anyway, but he'll determine it by the early betting. And if
Right.
he puts a few $100,000 on Epicenter early, then obviously he's going to go off a much shorter price than we anticipate.
I think Epicenter will be the favorite. I think he should be the favorite. I mean, he's done absolutely nothing wrong. I wish, by the way, when Xandon won his first race, I think it was like 70-1 in the first Derby pool, and I meant to bet him, and I
Yeah.
completely, honest to God, just forgot. It was like 5:30. I'm like, oh, I forgot to bet Xandon. Might be one of the biggest mistakes of my entire betting life. But anyway, I think the favorite should be Epicenter. I believe Xandon will be second choice. I think if people are a little bit scared right now with with Taba, and the only one work since the San Diego Derby. It wasn't flashy, although he's really not a great workhorse anyway. My gut feeling is that Zan will be the second choice, and Epicenter will be, I won't say the clear favorite, but somewhere around 5-2, 3-1.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I don't know if he'll be that short, but I think he'll be the favorite. And I think when everybody sort of cozies up to the past performances, which should be out on Monday night, I think they'll realize again, okay, Epicenter is clearly the favorite here based on the ascending speed figures and the big Louisiana Derby performance. It's funny that you can liken it to golf and say that, a horse that wins a race like the Louisiana Derby becomes a proverbial leader in the clubhouse. But then once everybody realizes, okay, well, no one was really all that much better than him, if even at all, then it becomes, well, let's poke holes in him, right? Let's figure out why we should bet against him, because it is the season to be critical of everyone in there. I think Epicenter's a horse that holds up pretty well to scrutiny. I don't have a big lean against him of any type. I think Zandon's also a really talented and horse with a lot of upside as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't have any firm opinions at the moment. I want to see the post draw and maybe get a sense of where some of the pace might come from, which I think is of great importance as well. And obviously we'll see what happens with the final few declarations in terms of who might still run. We got a little boost to the pace scenario with Classic Causeway running, and he immediately became a very strong candidate to finish last.
Yeah, I don't listen. I wish the owners, and all the connections luck. I don't really understand it. I've never owned a 3-year-old who has enough points to get into the Derby. So it's very easy for knuckleheads like us or like me, to say, well, the horse shouldn't go. I mean, the horse is only a 3-year-old once. The Derby's only,
Right.
one time a year. So I understand, but I don't like the horse's chances at all. And early voting, I would highly recommend go to the Preakness, but again, I don't own the horse. He's better than Classic Causeway, but I don't like his chances at all if he goes. I think he'd be a serious contender in the Preakness if he goes. But I'm glad the Classic Causeway's in, Nick, because it pretty much ensures at least a moderate to fast pace, and that'll help my top choice Zandon and some others as well. It's just you know, I don't mind wire to wire jobs, but it's sort of fun to see the Orbs and the Monarchoses of the world come from way back, in the street senses to win the Derby. It's a little more flair for the dramatic, but it should be an honestly run race.
Yeah, the Derby's about chaos, right? There's supposed to be some amount of chaos in how it shakes out, and we have seen too many of them become entirely mundane in recent years. So I want
Yeah,
things to, and I want my friend Travis Stone to have to pick out as many moves as possible through the
there you go.
binoculars as things go on. There's nothing worse than the feeling when they get to the eighth pole and you're like, "Whoa, I have no idea who's going to win." So that would be a lot of fun, of course. Howard, thanks so much for taking a look at the Derby with me. You are going to be a busy man next week. Tell us a little bit about what you have coming up on the HHH Racing podcast.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going Monday through Thursday. Every day. Every day is a little different show. I'll just very briefly. Monday, we're going to be talking about post positions and the bottom 10 Derby horses projected by their odds. Tuesday, we're going to talk about the top 10 Derby horses by their odds. Wednesday is completely focused on the Friday Kentucky Oaks card, pick 5, etc. And then Thursday, we'll cover the Saturday Derby Day card. I have the Mustari father and son team coming on different days. I have some prize guests coming on. Check it out on YouTube, and then people can watch listen to the audio replays on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. So please check it out on YouTube live, and then they can watch the replays. I think I'm going to put together an excellent product. Of course, after you watch and listen to all the In the Money media material that's been out there, you guys have been doing a tremendous job putting out a lot of material.
No, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and certainly looking forward to what you will have up there in the coming days. Thank you, my friend, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Please stay right here for more Kentucky Derby related content, also on the In the Money Media Plus side. Sign up for that In the Money Media newsletter as well, which is available on a weekly basis. You'll get one. Hopefully you got one that talked to you about this podcast that we had here. That's available, of course, on a regular basis. In the Money Plus subscribers have a lot of content that they're going to be served up next week regarding the Kentucky Derby. I'll be involved in a little bit of it. And then, of course, there will be a lot of content from Jonathan Kinchin, Pete Fornatal, and a variety of the characters that you see around these parts pretty often. Well, you'll have PTF back next week, but you had me today. I really enjoyed it. Thanks all of you for tuning in. And until next time, best of luck.